$918. $918 is how much my first commercial film made. That's it. There it is. That's the end of the video. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and send us your firstborn son if you want to see more videos similar to this one. And until then, I'll see you in the next. Just kidding. There's probably at least 20 questions running through your head, especially if you're making a film yourself. Did you self-distribute or have a distributor? What was the film's budget? Why was the amount so low? Why do you suck so much? In this video, I'm going to talk about all that and more. First, it's important that you have some context on the film's backstory. So, I publicly released my very first independent film in 2019. Well, technically this isn't my first feature film, as I made a few Legend of Zelda fan films in grade school. However, this was my first commercial film, a film made with the intentions of making money. I started it when I was 17 years old in high school in 2012, finished shooting it in my first year of college in 2013, and finally premiered it to the world in 2015. It sat on the shelf for a few years because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with it. Then it went through the film festival circuit for a number of years, winning a few things here and there, before it finally became available for purchase on Amazon in 2019. When I made my feature film Standoff, I knew nothing about marketing. Hell, I was still learning how to make films and all the many elements surrounding it. I went in blind, unprepared, and inexperienced, which is why my film didn't meet expectations monetarily. I should note, the film was entirely self-funded. There were no studio executives, distributors, contracts, or third parties involved, just me and some local help. Now, despite the number I revealed in the beginning of the video, the 918 number, I did not make any money on my film. In fact, I lost money. First, let's break down the gains. $158 is how much my film made in 43 sales on Amazon as of February 2021. $550 was made from gross box office ticket sales from the world premiere in 2015, $180 from pre-sale tickets from the world premiere in 2015, and around $30 from one-off DVDs that I sold of the film that had to stop being sold because they weren't working properly, which is why I switched to selling digital copies on Amazon. So in total, we gained $918. But how much did we spend? Around $1,200 to $1,500 was spent on the actual production of the film, paying for props, hiring makeup artists, hiring a second camera operator, food, and other production costs. $500 was spent on renting out the theater to show the film for its world premiere, $126 for captions to get the film on Amazon, and $125 for the key art of the film. I say production of the film was around $1,200 to $1,500 because I did not keep track of all the expenses coming in and out of the film. Because the film was produced from my personal savings, I would sometimes spend additional money on things I had not accounted for, such as food, additional props, additional makeup gags, equipment repairs, small things such as memory cards and batteries, and a number of other unaccounted for costs that I was not prepared to spend additional money on. Unfortunately, there is no exact number on the budget, just a rough approximation, which could honestly be even larger than the numbers I presented. But let's ignore that and go with the numbers I gave you, as it helps me sleep at night. So far, you have learned that I was born and destined to become one of the greatest producers of our time. But I wasn't always this competent. When I started Standoff in 2012 and restarted it in 2013, instead of researching and coming up with an overall plan for the film, I decided I would figure everything out as I went. Twice. Keynote here: don't ever figure it out as you go. It's a terrible idea, especially when you're doing something as elaborate as making a feature film. You should plan every single step and be prepared to be adaptable to change, as things will not always go the way you initially plan. The film's world premiere was actually quite successful though, relatively speaking that is. If you only count the costs of putting the event together, i.e. renting out the theater for $500, I made a $230 profit, as we made $550 from box office sales and $180 from pre-sale tickets for the premiere. However, the entire profit was reinvested to send the film out to film festivals. Then there's what we made on Amazon thus far, which is $158. It cost $251 to get the film on Amazon. I paid $125 to hire someone to make the movie poster, and $126 to get subtitles made, both are which required to get Amazon to even review the film with no guarantee that it'll even pass the review process. Fortunately for us, it did, and we got the chance to get it on the platform, where it remains at the time of making this video, which is a hint to go purchase it right now. Seriously, go buy our film. Please. So, since my film has been on Amazon since 2019 and it's now 2021, I would like to break down how much the film made periodically and what I learned about marketing and advertising through this experience. As it's quite clear I didn't go to school for business. In a year, from April 2019 to April 2020, Standoff made $128 with 31 sales. We made back the cost of the key art. Unfortunately, Amazon doesn't tell you who or where your sales are coming from, but the way I've advertised my film, I would say 80% of the sales in my first year were local friends and family of the cast and crew, while the other 20% were people that saw my promotions and decided to gamble with the devil and check out my little indie film. I paid for no advertisements and self-promoted using the official Facebook page for the film, my company's Facebook page, promoting the film in Facebook groups, sharing the trailer on YouTube and Reddit, promoting the film on my gaming channel that had around 4,000 subscribers at the time, some self-promoting on Twitter, and reaching out to people who cover indie horror films to make posts about the film on their social medias and websites. Also, having the cast and crew and friends and family share the film around, I believe also contributed to sales. The film made most of its money in the first 2 months of 2019 when the film first became publicly available, and had a burst of sales in the first 2 months of 2020, then a bunch of random sales throughout the past almost 2 years since its release now, then a bunch of random sales throughout the past almost 2 years since release until now. My film did not make any money every month though, and I didn't promote it every month either. With it being my first time in marketing a film, I experimented a bit. I noticed that if I didn't make any posts or go out of my way to reach out to people about my film, I usually sold nothing. But months that I made posts on Reddit, shared around on Facebook, advertised on my gaming channel, and reached out to people to cover the film, I would sell at least one copy of my film. I initially wanted to see if Amazon would bring me an organic audience by simply having my film on their platform. Surprise, surprise, I sold nothing this way. I only sold copies when I put in the effort to reach out to people about it. On my YouTube channel, when I knew I might get a lot of views on a specific video, I would ask my audience in the beginning and at the end of the video to support my content creation by watching the film. I noticed that when I did this, I would also sell at least one copy a month. Through this experiment, I learned that if you do nothing, you get nothing. There's a lot I wish I did early on because I'm sure there would have been greater traction had my film did really well on Amazon during its first few months of release. But once the ball stopped rolling, I had to keep it rolling myself on a flat surface instead of a downward slope. Some films can make passive income, but for me to sell a copy of my movie each month, I have to put in hours of work of reaching out to people and creating engaging posts to increase my chances of reaching someone new who might be interested in purchasing my film. Now, I initially reached out to a few distributors to help with distributing my film, and all of them either said no or ignored my emails. For someone who wants to self-distribute, I would recommend doing everything you can to get your movie out there. Create an email list of reviewers, promoters, and publishers, and send them an electronic press kit. Have your film ready on a site or on a DVD to send to those who want to review your film. Good or bad, their audience might be curious about your film and want to watch it too. Get yourself involved with Facebook groups and communities ahead of time. You want to be active and involved with these communities and not only share things about your work, but engage with others as well. You want to give more than you take, and most people that you support will return the favor as well. You want to build an audience of people who will genuinely be interested in your project. Spamming it in groups and on Reddit can get you blacklisted, so you want to avoid that. Regarding film festivals, they didn't do much for my film, but it also didn't get accepted into anything major like Sundance, just a few lesser known festivals. Another thing I recommend is setting up an ad campaign on places like Google, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You'll have to pay money to do this, but these can be very effective if done right. You can target a niche audience on these platforms and hone in on people who might be interested in what you're making. For example, for Standoff, I would want to target people who are interested in zombies, horror movies, and action movies, and mostly men who are 18 to 35, as I feel these parameters best fit my audience. Now, I didn't spend a dime on advertisements, but it is something I've heard people swear by and have personally seen work successfully, so I'll be giving it a try too for my next film. Another thing I'm sure played a huge role in sales was retention, how long people were watching my film after they bought it. Since no one really knows how the algorithm works, including the person who probably wrote it, I'm willing to bet that, like most social media and product-based platforms, retention is a huge factor in how my film was recommended to other people on Amazon. Not everyone who bought my film watched it all the way through though. Unfortunately, Amazon doesn't tell you how long each user watches your film, but there were times where only one copy of my movie would sell in a month and the retention time was under 10 minutes, meaning some people would only watch my film for 10 minutes or less. To this end, it's important to make sure that your film is interesting and engaging. Not everyone who bought my hour-and-a-half-minute film watched it all the way through either, sometimes not even to the hour mark. Being a low-budget action horror zombie film, I'm sure there were some expectations to some extent. Whether low or high, ideally you want everyone who watches your project to watch the whole thing through. It's weird and maybe even a little hurtful to think that people spent money on my film to not even watch it for a full 10 minutes. But that's a good indicator to know if your film is holding someone's attention, and if so, for how long. So why am I telling you about my failed film that lost money? Well, for starters, you can learn from my mistakes and actually market your film. My biggest mistake at marketing was thinking that my film would sell itself. As an 18-year-old making my first film, I thought that once the film was made, distributors would be knocking on my doorstep. And you would probably be surprised to hear that that wasn't the case at all. So I'm telling you that you need to market your damn film, or pay someone else to do it. No matter how good your film is, no one's gonna watch it if no one knows about it. It's important that you get it in front of the right people, but it can be a complicated process on how to exactly do that. Most first-time filmmakers are more focused on just completing their project, but don't realize that marketing is just as crucial as making the film itself. Don't underestimate marketing. Plan for it, study it, learn it, and do it, or pay someone else to do it. I'm no expert in this field by any means, but if you're making your first film, I want to stress the importance of building an audience and fan base. Making your film just isn't enough. You have to get it in front of people's eyes, and there are thousands of ways to do this. Don't be like me in my first film. Plan every step from pre-production to what you do after the film is released. I hope you found this video informative and unironically funny. Now I'll give you the spiel about commenting and subscribing to the channel for more informative videos like this, and to watch our creative projects as they release. Make sure to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, give us your credit card information and social security number, send us your firstborn child and a blood sample, and until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.